from Maybe a Better One Knit, here today to talk to you again about gift knitting. So this time I'm not talking about specific patterns. I am sharing some of my tips to make your gift knitting process go more smoothly, be more streamlined, and finish up in a timely manner. So this is geared more toward people who are doing a lot of gift knitting and need to manage their time, manage their projects, get everything done in the few short weeks between now and Christmas, the beginning of Hanukkah, the New Year, and all of the other winter festivals and celebrations. So if that is you, I hope you will stick around and get some helpful tips and tricks. All right, as usual, I want to start off with the caveat that you do not have to knit or crochet or sew or anything gifts for anyone just because you happen to have those talents. Everyone else is going to Amazon and Target and whatever and buying gifts, and you are entitled to do that too. You should not feel obligated to knit for the holidays.
But now I've learned to say no.
With that said, of course, many of us still knit for the holidays, either just because we enjoy it or because we can't get rid of that sense of obligation. So hopefully these tips are going to come in handy to help you kind of streamline that process. It can get very overwhelming with all of the stuff going on, you know, the cooking and the wrapping and the decorating, and then you've got also the gifts.
Oh, there's so much to do. Oh, so much to do.
So I'm going to share just 5 quick tips that I have found helpful for myself and that hopefully you will find useful as well. All right, so let's start off with go for sizeless gifts. So what I mean by that is, you know, sort of everything kind of has a size, but some things are more forgiving than others. So socks, for example, you really need to know someone's approximate shoe size, foot size to get a well-fitting sock. Sweaters, please don't knit anybody sweaters for Christmas, but if you know, still in that vein, you have to know somebody's size. Hats, meh. You kind of have to know if they have a big or a small head, which you can kind of tell by looking at most people. Fingerless mitts, they don't have to have a very precise fit. It's okay if they come out a little big. Cowls and scarves, absolutely nothing to worry about there. They'll fit everybody. So focus on accessories, and specifically accessories that don't have a lot of size considerations. In that vein, also consider patterns that are very flexible. So for example, a ribbed hat pattern, and there are some very nice ones out there, they're very stretchy. They're going to fit a lot of people. So you have a lot less concern about whether they're going to fit your intended recipient, because ribbing shrinks back in and it also stretches a lot. So the same would be true for fingerless mitts. Scarves, obviously, but cowls, if you're choosing a cowl project, maybe something that has a very flexible stitch. So, you know, because they might have to stretch over somebody's head or whatever the case may be. So focus on accessories where the size is not super important, and also on the kind of patterns where the flexibility is kind of built into the pattern. And just in case you missed it, I did do a video a couple weeks ago sharing just a whole bunch of patterns for everybody on your list, and a fair few of them are going to fall into this category. That's the number one. My second suggestion is that you choose one yarn weight and make sure that all of the projects that you're doing use that weight of yarn. And I would definitely suggest it not be anything lighter than a DK if you have a lot to knit in a short period of time. And to go along with that, I would suggest that you pick a color scheme. So that's not all the same color, but maybe you pick 2 or 3 colors that coordinate well together, all in one weight of yarn. And that way, if you run out of yarn for project A, you can take some of the yarn you have left from project B, or you know, you have run out of your, you know, you played yarn chicken and you lost and you just have like a little bit of a hem left to go. You can if your yarn is all the same weight and all of the colors go together, you can borrow a little bit of yarn from another project, and now your project has a contrast trim. So this is really going to eliminate some of the issues that you might have with running out of yarn, not having the right yarn, not having yarn colors that go together. If you focus in on just one weight and then get 2, 3, maybe 4 colors that all go well together so that you can interchange them. You don't have to worry about exact amounts of yarn that you need for projects because you've just got, maybe you've got 1,000 yards of worsted weight yarn in 3 different colors to make 5 different hats, and you can just mix and match, work everything together. You won't have to worry about those things that tend to derail projects. Running out of yarn being the big one. So choose a color scheme and a yarn weight and make sure all of your projects fall into that category. It's not something that necessarily your recipients are going to notice because you're not giving everybody the exact same hat in the exact same color. You're breaking things up, you're mixing up your colors. Non-knitters really don't know a whole lot about yarn, so it's not probably going to occur to them that you have used, all Malabrigo Rios to knit all of your projects. But it's going to make things easier for you. Third one is to write out a timeline for each project. And when you do that, don't forget to include the time it's going to take to wash and block and dry and wrap your finished project.
Due to the shortage of time, we'll get right down to work.
What this might look like, in general, maybe you want to say, okay, this week I'm going to work on this, and this week I'm going to work on this. But for each project, consider making a more specific timeline. So for example, it's obviously a bigger project, but right now I'm working on the sweater I want to have done for Christmas. So I said, okay, I'm going to give myself 2 weeks to knit the yoke, 1 week to knit the body, 1 week to knit each sleeve, and then to finish up, wash and block and dry and have ready to wear for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, whatever the case may be. It can just help you to realize what is a reasonable expectation and what isn't. Okay, so is it reasonable to expect to knit an entirely stockinette stitch body of a sweater in a worsted weight yarn in a week? Yes. Would it be reasonable to expect to knit a cabled sweater body in fingering weight yarn in a week? No. So writing things down, blocking out your actual time can really give you a better grasp of how reasonable your projects are and what you can be able to expect from yourself. So maybe you realize that you actually can't finish cabled mittens for everybody on your list in a fingering weight yarn in the time that you have available, but you can maybe do stockinette mittens in worsted weight yarn. So it can just be really helpful. It doesn't have to be written down. It can be on your phone or whatever. Personally, I just like writing things down still, whatever works for you, but having some visual representation of what you need to accomplish and the amount of time you can reasonably expect it to take in consideration with your deadline can really help you to better manage your time and to be more realistic about what needs to get done.
That wasn't really very realistic.
Next, I know, new patterns are being released all of the time, and some of them are so beautiful and they might catch our eye. But unfortunately, this is not the time to be trying new things.
No, I just can't.
If you have never worked a cable in your life, the 5 weeks between now and Christmas is not the time to start trying to learn to cable if you are trying to finish gifts in time for the holidays. There's all the rest of the year to try new things, and you absolutely, definitely 100% should. But trying new things during the holiday season when you're in a mad rush to finish gifts is just a recipe for disaster. You're going to drive yourself crazy. You're going to get frustrated. Then you're going to start panicking because you're running out of time. And it's just not worth it. Even though, maybe you think, oh, this gift is going to just be so impressive. This beautiful color work hat, this fair isle with all these beautiful colors. That's great. In January, start that hat. for next Christmas. But if you haven't started your knitting yet and you're starting it now, this is not the time to try new things. So I never want to discourage people from expanding their knitting horizons and trying new projects and new techniques. This is just not the time to do it. So take it from me. That doesn't mean that all of your projects have to be simple. If you're already really good at cabling, great. But more so than complicated techniques, new techniques are not what you really want to be trying right now when you have a deadline. So I know it's tempting, beautiful new designs coming out every day, but don't do it. Stick with what you know for the next 5 weeks, and then in January, you can try all of the newest, fanciest, most complicated knitting patterns that have ever been invented, and then you can save them up for next Christmas. All right, and my last one is going to kind of go back to my point that I made at the beginning, which is just don't knit for people who don't appreciate it. It doesn't matter how good of a knitter you are. If somebody just doesn't appreciate handmade stuff, they're not going to suddenly appreciate it because you spent a lot of time or put a lot of work and effort and energy into the project. They're just not. How do you know if somebody appreciates hand knits? That can be a little trickier. If you have ever gifted something to anyone and they ruined it by putting it in the washing machine, do not knit them something again unless they were a child. They're not going to suddenly start appreciating it. If you've been through a lot of Christmases now, and if you've seen people get handmade gifts and kind of make this face and set them to the side, don't bother. You can buy them a hat from Walmart. You don't need to waste your time and energy on people who simply don't appreciate it. But there are a lot of people out there who really do. Those are really the people to focus on. So for example, my dad doesn't wear a lot of sweaters in general, but I have knit him a sweater and he wears it like all the time. He wears it even when it's too hot to be wearing a sweater, or a hat that I made him that he really likes. Those are the kind of people that you want to be taking the time to gift things for. So especially like, your kid's teacher, unless they have expressed some, great admiration for your knitting in the past, don't bother with that. They're not going to appreciate that. The same with your random coworkers or your boss. Unless they have already, admired your knitting and said, oh, it'd be so nice, something like that. Those are not the people to focus on. So you really want to focus your precious yarn and your precious time on people who are definitely going to appreciate it. So, as I said, in general, you do not have to knit for the holidays just because you can knit. But if you do decide to, I hope you will remember that your knitting is very valuable and your time is very valuable, and people who don't appreciate it don't deserve it. So try to narrow down that gift list to people who are actually going to appreciate the time and effort that you put into all of those handmade gifts. And that includes yourself. So you can just not knit any gifts and cast on a new project for yourself. That seems fair too.
A gift for me?
All right, this was a quick video this week. It is Thanksgiving week here in the United States. So it is a busy week and I'm hosting dinner for 15 people, I think, at this point. So it's a quick video today, but I hope you did still find it useful. Don't forget to check out that video with the pattern suggestions if you are determined to knit gifts this holiday season. A lot of cute patterns in there, I think. Thank you so much for joining me. If you appreciated the video and got something out of it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. New videos here every Saturday. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Amelia Peruana, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.